Hi, my name is Xavier Kataquapit. I'm an Indigenous writer and columnist originally from Attawapiskat First Nation, a remote community on the James Bay Coast in northern Ontario. Watje, sabi at the hub in the Sinagasan, at the opposite to handle the Skanazan. Since 1998, I've been writing a regular column titled Under the Northern Sky, as well as news articles about Indigenous issues, life, culture, traditions, communities, and politics. My writing has appeared throughout Canada in print and in radio. I'm happy to provide you this YouTube channel so that I can read you some of my work on a regular basis. I'll be adding to the channel as I develop it, and please feel free to like, subscribe, and share this video. This story is called All About Fire. Much of my life has revolved around fire, and my people of the James Bay Coast still depend on fire in a way that others in the outside world no longer experience. Just about every home in Attawapiskat has a wood-burning stove or furnace. Even in the brand new houses, built only a few years ago, everything is focused around the wood stove. In remote communities of the James Bay Coast, people still have to depend on fire. There are no gas lines and oil and propane has to be shipped up by barge, sent up through the winter road, or flown in, and all this results in too much expense. Although Attawapiskat is not connected to the wider power grid, the idea of electrical heat is difficult due to the expense. Consequently, many people still focus a lot of energy on getting enough firewood in for the winter. And it seems like the search for wood is always an ongoing task. Now that there is indoor plumbing, which became available in the early 1990s, it is even more important to keep the fire burning once freeze-up starts. I recall as a child waking up to a cold house with thick blankets tucked snugly around me and listening to the sound of my dad or my mom firing up the stove in the early morning. It was a matter of survival to have enough firewood, a good stove, and dependable people like my mom and dad to make sure that the fire was always there. Our lives as traditional Cree people up the coast revolves around fire both in the community and when we are out on the land. My parents tell me that in the old days, out on the land, before there were matches or modern ways to start a fire, it was an important job for someone to keep an ember of fire alive to make sure they were never without this life-giver. When we were nomadic people roaming the land, we carried fire with us, and it was the firekeeper's job to make sure that we had fire. When we're out in the land, much of the time is focused around the fire. Most of the time, we get our heat and do some of our cooking on a metal prospector type stove. This stove is carried with us in the boat, and sometimes in the sleigh, and is always part of our huge prospector canvas tent. Sometimes we sit around an outside fire which we use for additional cooking and light. Here's how I was taught to light a fire, dry or wet. You start by collecting brown, dead pine boughs if they are near. These burn fiercely, much like paper, and are a great fire starter. Collect all of these, and if there are no such boughs around, you focus on collecting a big quantity of dry twigs and small dead branches. Once you have a big pile of this starting wood, look for larger dry or dead pieces of wood, and if you have an axe, look for fallen trees and cut them into lengths you can carry and place on the fire once it is started. If you plan on building a good hot fire and you want it to burn a long time, then you cut down a tree. You cut it into fire log lengths and add it to your strong hot fire. Once you have all these ingredients, begin by placing the dried brown pine boughs, the more the better, any sticks or twigs, and then light it up. As the fire catches and builds, begin to add more twigs, larger pieces of wood, and slowly feed the fire. Don't put on too much or too quickly, as you will smother the fire. Watch how you are placing the larger pieces of wood so as to leave space for the wind to blow in and fuel your fire. We take fire for granted these days. But to be reminded of this gift, we only have to look at past storms, where heating with gas and oil and electricity came to an abrupt end. Perhaps it's time we renew our respect for fire. Well, I hope you enjoyed this story. I'll have lots more coming your way. Smigo is minig visit the batsman. Nagomita. Watch